Shall we begin?
Yes.
All right, so if you will just mute yourselves, if you're not already muted, that would be appreciated, because every little sound in the background, from the rustling of papers to the ringing of the doorbell to the barking of your dogs, will come across loud and clear. So welcome, welcome, welcome to session 2 of Fall Prevention. And this is a joint program by your Albany NORC, Jewish Family Services of Northeastern New York, and Maria College. And I'd like to give, you had a chance to meet Linda last week. I'd like to introduce to you Scott Homer from Maria College, who will be taking part along with the students from the Occupational Therapy Assisting Program next week and giving us some really good demonstrations on what to do when you fall, how to use assistive devices, etc. So welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Judy, and good morning, everybody. I was in class with students last week when you were presenting, but I watched back the video, and this is a great group of folks and some great information that Judy and Linda are sharing with you. My students have been working hard to put together, many of them are actually in class during this time, so we're recording some videos and then we're going to tie it all together with a live presentation so that you can see some real life examples of how we can help, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you next week.
Thanks very much, Scott.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. So
in a normal year, we'd be all together at the college, but we're going to make the best of it and do it virtually. So we will give you the same high quality content just over the internet.
It's a challenge for all of us, and it's I always tell people, if you believe the statement, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Never were they a 74-year-old like me surviving retooling during a pandemic. So I've had to learn a lot of new tricks. So for a welcome to some of you who are joining us for the first time. I know some were not able to make the first session. So what I'd like to remind you of is that we do record all of our sessions. So when you get the reminder for the upcoming session, you'll also get a link to the pre-recorded session on YouTube. And I really invite you to review that. Last week we talked about the scope of the problem. We looked at some statistics. And I always like to stress the statistic that 3 out of 4 people over the age of 65 do not fall. So we want to be one of those 3 rather than the one that does fall. And we also began to look at our own attitudes and beliefs about falls. And we practiced an exercise routine that is specifically designed to build the balance, the flexibility, and strength to help you reduce your risk of falls. So just a heads up about that exercise program. We are not going to take the time during session 2 and 3, today and next week, to actually do the exercises together. They are pre-recorded, so I invite you to view them, to use them, to practice them at least a couple of times between sessions, and that way we'll have the time available to do new content. I know Linda has a lot to cover today when it comes to room-to-room safety. So what are we going to do this week in session 2? First and foremost, we're going to take a look at the take-home activity that you had in your packet. We're not going to do practicing the fall prevention exercises, although I hope some of you will do that when the session is over. We're going to explore the benefits and barriers to activity and exercise in older adults, and then identify specific risk factors, whether they're in the environment or in you personally, that would contribute to a risk of falling. Last but not least, we're going to work up, based on what we've talked about, a personal action plan for you, for preventing falls. So just a little bit about Zoom etiquette. We are going to mute everybody during the presentation part. We will be opening periodically to comments from the audience First, we're going to be reviewing the take-home activity, so you'll have an opportunity to share. A few people will have an opportunity to share. We'll also have a poll at the end of the session, which will is only 3 questions, so I would please encourage you to complete that before you leave the meeting. And if you have anything coming up that you'd like discussed or a question you'd like to ask and the microphones are not open, there should be the option of a chat window in your screen. So you can type in your question and we'll be happy to answer it. Okay. So let's look at the first item on the list, your take-home activity, exploring your thoughts and concerns about falling. Now, if you remember from your handout, or if you have your handout in front of you, that would be great. We asked a couple of questions during that survey. You know, what was it you were concerned about doing? How realistic did you feel that fear was? And was there something you could do to reduce your fears and concerns so that you could participate in an activity that was attractive to you? So I'd like to open the mics at this point. If somebody will indicate that they'd like to share their take-home activity, that would be great. We could take a couple of people on that. Raise your hand. Cheryl, we can unmute Cheryl. Hold on a second, Cheryl, you're still muted. You can unmute yourself. Go to your little microphone. There you go. Hi there.
How are you?
I'm well.
I've fallen several times in the past 2 years, and all different types of falls. But my fear, the most fear I have is falling down a step or a curb in in the shopping area, because I've already done that, and it wasn't fun. And I also got hurt. So I wanted to know, I think it's a reasonable fear. And I find and I do take a cane with me now, but even having the cane, I never know, do I put the cane down first or my foot down first? And sometimes I'm even afraid using the cane, like I start to shake a little, just in fear.
So the activity is going shopping. That was the activity you
Yes,
want to feel
yes,
more comfortable participating
yes,
in. And according to your experience, having experienced a couple of falls, you would say that fear is pretty realistic.
yes.
Okay, so are you looking at your sheet? What did you rate that as? Very dangerous or somewhat dangerous?
I rated it a 10, very dangerous, because it is, and especially when you fall and you can't get up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so you are taking some steps already to make that activity safer for yourself.
Yes.
You're taking those assistive devices, your cane, whatever, to help you get around. Now, the second to the last question, Cheryl, was, what will happen if I give in to my fear about not participating in this activity?
Well, it will curtail me from going shopping where there's a curb. And I find there aren't enough of the handicapped curves, like where Target and Marshalls are.
Mm-hmm.
There's more sidewalk, but I find we need a couple of more lower curbs for wheelchairs and people who have a problem walking up and down a step. So, you know, I could suggest to the city, but who knows what the city is doing now. We have too many other problems.
But that doesn't mean that your problem is not important.
Right,
So,
right.
and I like your thinking that, okay, so this is the way it is. I'm doing this so far, but I need to extend my influence perhaps a little further by contacting the city officials. That's a great idea. Why not write a letter? Is there any other way that you're thinking that you might make that activity a little bit safer for yourself going forward?
Well, the other thing, of course, is using the cane. And I really can't think of any other way. You know, I don't think I can talk myself into it. I have, but when I've forgotten the cane, it's like, oh, how am I going to do this? And there's never a person around. Like sometimes you'll see a person and I'm not shy and, you know, I'll say, excuse me, I have a little problem going up and down this curb. Can you help me?
So that's
Yeah.
another very assertive, very
Yeah.
proactive response you can make to that situation. I see Scott has his hand up. So I think he wants to maybe weigh in on this.
If you don't mind.
No,
Hi,
I don't
Cheryl.
mind at all.
We'll talk specifically with demonstrations about cane use next week, but I'm a strong advocate of using a cane that has a solid base on it, not just a stick, because that doesn't offer strong enough support. So I'll show you some examples and we could talk about how that makes a difference. And I also remember you mentioning early on about not being sure what to move, where, and first. So we will review that. But if you need to go out in the meantime, if you have a leg stronger than another, we always recommend that you go up with your strong leg, and when you're coming down, you lead with your weaker leg.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Right.
cane will always be on the side of the weaker leg to give it extra support, and that should always precede your movement. So cane, and then strong leg, then weak leg as you're going up. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
the idea of getting to a situation and realizing you've forgotten your cane, that's a matter of habit. So you're going to include that with all of your going out in public, or leave an extra one in the car so you always have it. Because that's the risk of saying, well, maybe this time I can manage it, is not worth it, right?
Yes, and I always do leave one in the car. Thank you. But
Very
sometimes
good.
I forget it in the car,
I
but
know.
that's okay. And I also thought I have not been to a neurologist, and I'm thinking of making an appointment
Very
to
good.
just make sure it's nothing physical.
Very good.
And that's great, Cheryl, because Linda's going to be speaking in a little bit about interior, meaning, you know, what's inside of us that might be limiting our activity. And certainly our eye health, our foot health, our neurological health is very important to preventing falls. So good on you. It sounds like you're a very proactive person. If I could throw in one other suggestion, take a friend shopping with you. That way you get a little companionship as well as getting to enjoy an activity like shopping. Thanks for
Okay.
sharing, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Do we have one other person who would like to talk about how they approach that activity, that take-home activity?
Can I jump in just with a thought? First of all, I was going to ask, I didn't get the packet of information. So if someone could just email it to me, that would be wonderful. But you know what, also, when I was having some problems, one thing that I tried to do is not necessarily park in the handicap area, but park where there might be a shopping cart, and grabbing the shopping cart from there. For some reason, that always used to give me a little bit more stabilization and I felt comfortable with that. Just a thought. And this way you put your pocketbook and your cane in it.
Right.
So just a thought.
Great suggestion, Mary Ellen. I like that. So yeah, if one of those situations where all the handicap spots are not really accessible, that's a great alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing that. And we'll make sure you get all the materials that you need going forward. So does anyone else who worked on the home activity want to share their process? Going once, going
Jen,
twice.
Jen's raising her hand.
All
actually.
right, Jen.
Okay, this might sound strange, but cross-country skiing. And I have a long history of cross-country skiing, but I haven't done it lately because of fear of falling and hurting myself.
So do you have the way you work through that activity? So you're afraid of doing your cross-country skiing. And
Yeah.
the second question was, based on your experience, how realistic are your fears about how dangerous that activity is?
Well, I think it's between a 5 and a 10.
Okay. And how could you approach that to make it more accessible for you and safer for you?
Yeah, I thought that maybe I should just stick to flat ground and practice first, right around my house when there's someone around. So, practice getting up from the ground. Because when you cross country ski, you fall. I mean, even when I was young, I used to do that. But falling on snow is very different than falling on concrete.
I know I fell in a parking lot once when I was doing cross-country skiing. Not skiing, I fell in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And that wasn't any fun. It wasn't any fun, Jen. But
Yeah.
I love the suggestions you're coming up with, and the idea that you're going to go out, you're going to test yourself on some flat, familiar terrain, you're going to get a sense, and you're going to have somebody with you in the event that something does go amiss. I really like those ideas. And we all know that winter is coming. Our activity is going to be somewhat more limited than it has been. So anything we can do, and we're going to be talking about this next, to remain active is going to help with preventing falls. So we want to build up the muscle strength and the stability to prevent falls. Thanks for sharing, Jen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about, we're not going to do that. Remember, the exercises are recorded and you will receive a link to that so you can practice at home. So what is the difference between physical activity and exercise? And I just want to throw in a little aside here. There's a wonderful book that I recommend to everybody, whether you're a senior or not, and it's called The Blue Zones. And it looked at many different cultures around the world that had a high percentage of people living to be over 100 years old, and not just living, but living well. And a commonality among these groups was that they were physically active. They didn't go to the gym. They didn't have a personal trainer. They didn't have a Nordic track down their basement. They were physically active. They walked. They took care of their homes. They tended their gardens. They moved all the time. So physical activity is actually any body movement requiring skeletal muscle and requiring energy. And exercise is just kind of a more formal cousin of activity. In other words, if you do get on a treadmill or you do decide to go for an organized walk or whatever, a mile walk where you're actually clocking the mileage rather than just going out for a stroll. But it's designed specifically to maintain fitness. You might be working with lightweight weights. I know in some of our discussion groups, Linda has guided people through how to use objects you have around the house to build up muscle strength, including soup cans, bags of rice, that kinds of thing. So those are the differences. And I don't think I need to spend too much time on this when we think about all the ways that we can have barriers to activity. And we talked about those internal factors, how Cheryl was going to go see her neurologist to see if there was any contributing problem there. Your vision, your hearing, the medications you take, the physical condition overall that you're in affects that. And certainly the environment, the weather, the structure of the ground, whatever, can interfere with activity. Well, what about some of the benefits? Again, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this. All you have to do is go out and breathe some fresh air and get a little movement, and you know how much better you feel. But the things that you can't see is that your circulation improves, your appetite improves, maybe you sleep a little better that night. And when you have arthritis, probably the worst thing you can do is immobilize your joints. I had an orthopedist friend that used to say, life is movement and movement is life. And we all know that once you stop moving, it's very easy to lose that muscle strength and conditioning. I was reading somewhere that 1 week of bed rest is the equivalent to aging 2 years. Now that's pretty significant. So mentally, certainly, I don't know about you, but if I'm not moving around a lot, I don't feel as well. I don't feel as positive about my life. Certainly it improves. There's lots of research to show that physical activity benefits not only the body, but the mind. It increases our brain's ability to function well. And during these times of COVID, there's the opportunity to have decreased feelings of isolation. In my neighborhood, it's really interesting to see how many people are just stopping to chat with one another, even if you don't know each other very well. You're chatting from a social distance through a mask, but you're still connecting with other people, and that's really important. So I'm going to stop talking now and turn the floor over to Linda Schrager, who is going to take us through safe at home, room by room.
Okay, can I share my, do you have to unshare first?
I do. I'm going to do that right this very minute.
Uh-oh, what just happened? Let's see. Okay. All righty, let's just see.
I always want to sing the Jeopardy song when we're doing this.
I know. Oh, poor Alice, by the way.
I know.
A word of silence for
Rest in
everybody.
peace for Alice Trebek.
Exactly.
Alex. Yeah.
Okay. So in just sort of going on with what Judy was just saying, some of the losses that impact our ability to live safely in our homes. And as I said to you last week, that's my area of interest. I am an occupational therapist and I do home care. So I'm in people's homes every day. And vision loss is something that we all go through. Changes accelerate after age 50. They get more severe as we continue to age. And discerning closely related colors, especially in the blue-green spectrum, may be difficult. So look around your house and see what color your paint is and what color your furniture is, your walls especially. It takes longer to focus when moving from dark to light and vice versa. So we want to clearly mark hazardous changes in floor levels. We will look at some pictures of this in a moment. And position the furniture away from the areas where you walk. So I've been into someone's home, they have, let's say, the living room. There's a big piano right by the doorway going out. So every time they get up from the couch, they have to walk around the piano to get out the door. And you could just slide the piano down a few feet and move it out of the way. Sliding a piano is not always easy, but you would need help with that. But that's the kind of thing that we look at. Adjusting illumination throughout your home. So, excuse me. So that you want good wattage, the highest wattage as possible, but you want to eliminate glare, and sometimes additional lighting will be helpful. To have Target sells, they call it a Torchier lamp. It's like $12 and it has a swan neck with one of the bulbs, and you can just put it right behind you if you're working on a project. ask for an annual eye exam after the age of 50. That's kind of a normal thing that we do if we haven't had them going along. And multifocal lenses may blur or distort your vision looking down. So if you do wear that kind of a bifocal type of a thing, you want to be careful of that, because it could be a problem, especially going down the stairs. And looking at cataracts and of course, you know, keeping an eye on that. And I noticed the other day, this is a new thing, but masks. So I went to actually get my flu shot the other day. I was in line at CVS and I came out and I was looking, I had my mask on for my scarf and I thought I lost it. And I said to the people behind me, did you see a scarf laying on the floor? And the woman says, it's around your neck. I swear to you, I could not see. The mask comes out a little bit and blocks you looking down. So that's, you know, keep an eye on that. Okay, so here's an example, and this happens to be a house in the Newark, and for some reason, a lot of the homes are built this way. This is an odd thing. This is the door leading out to the driveway, so already that's a problem, coming in halfway on the steps. But the reason why I like this picture is, as you can see, they took little treads and these yellow strips and they marked the walls. And it makes it easy for you to see where the steps begin and end. So that's a great little thing that you can do. The other good thing about this picture is they have a nice banister going down. You know, we're all going to have, many of us are going to have a basement. So, you know, if you want to try to make that stairway down to the basement as safe as you can. Hearing loss, you know, we want to go to an audiologist for a baseline exam, check to see if your hearing is okay. Something like Clear Captions is a company where they set up your phone and it will display the text of a phone call right on a screen. And it's great. It happens to be free, and they will come in and set it up for you. You just need to have internet, and you need to have a prescription from your doctor, not that says you're deaf, but just that you have any kind of a hearing loss. So that's a great thing to look into. And it amplifies the handset so you can hear. Another thing, use lined insulated drapes, carpet, absorbs extra sound. Audible warnings can have, if you can hear, if the doorbell rings, perhaps lights can flash on and off, letting you know that that has happened. A vibrating alarm clock, you could place it under your pillow if need be. So that type of thing. Most of us have closed captioning on our TV. Excuse me, and you can text, which is, you know, something now that we have, so you can read the message on the phone and not have to hear it. So another fall factor, something that has been identified by the National Council on Aging, is, of course, looking into your medications. There are some prescriptions and over-the-counter meds that can cause you to be dizzy, that can cause you to be dehydrated, that can interact with other meds that you're on. So certainly you should review your prescriptions, and you might have heard of brown bag events where people literally take all their meds, put them in a bag, go into the pharmacist, and have the pharmacist look through them. Now, of course, if the important thing is that you want to go to the same pharmacy, so that you don't want to be getting stuff from CVS on that block and something else from Rite Aid on that block, because then they won't know what you're taking. If, as long as you go to the same pharmacist and they have it all in their computer, you don't really have to bring in the brown bag anymore, because they can just look it up. But a pharmacist is a very important member of your team, and they can help you and look through and see, and you'd be surprised. There's some things that could be causing you to feel a little dizzy or lightheaded that you wouldn't be aware of. Okay, so let's start by going through the house here, and let me just see if I can move that out of the way a little bit. Okay, so This is an entryway, and I show this, it's the ideal entryway because there's no threshold here. And obviously you can't go out and change the front of your house right now, but it is important to think about how is it entering your home, because sometimes people have trouble just getting in and out in the first place. So this is great. There's no threshold. I show this picture also because it has this little peephole for safety. This window that you can look out when people ring your doorbell and see who that might be. And a little chair sitting next to the doorway is great to sit, to put your packages on while you're fumbling for your keys so that you're not holding too many things at once. So that's just a nice picture. And while I'm on the front door, this is not have to do with falls, but it's something to keep in mind. Make sure that your house has good, well-lit, large house numbers so that should anyone be trying to find you, they can find the house easily. Over time, the number falls off, it flips over, it fades with color, and it's sometimes hard to find the number. As I said, I do home care, so I'm driving up and down the streets half the time looking for people's houses. So this is a walkthrough, and I like this because it just shows a few things in the living room. So many times this is the setup. You have the couch here, the chairs across, the coffee table right here, and the person will come in, and if they have an assisted device, like a walker or a cane, they walk in through here, and they tend to, quote, park the walker or put the cane down, and then sort of fight a little bit to fumble to get in through to sit in front of the couch. And simply, I just say, look at the room and maybe change it. Take this coffee table and push it out about 2 feet away from the couch. That way you can walk in with your walker or cane, turn and sit right down on the couch. And you're not sort of trying to shimmer through in between this furniture. So make sure you have uncluttered pathways. That's the point here. And that will be very helpful.
Linda, I had a question from Judy Moore. Does New York law allow zero clearance for doorways?
Well, I have had several people who have had zero clearance. That's a very good question. New York law, I don't know. I'm not sure. If anyone else has the answer to that, they can share. I've never heard that being a problem.
I wasn't sure either, but it might be. I know that with new construction and people downsizing because of getting older and wanting smaller living quarters, that there's more focus on design that is age friendly. So
exactly.
I can, Judy, I will look into that for you and see if there's any rules and regulations that would be a barrier to that, and I'll get back to you on that.
Many of the 55 and over communities do have their front doors that are zero threshold. Many. So I'm not sure, I'm sure that they would be aware of that, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. But thank you for bringing that up. It's certainly an interesting question. So I often have people who have trouble with just getting on and off of their furniture. The concept is the higher the better because it's easier to get off of. So, and also pushing up, having arms. So this is, I call this a captain's chair. It's the old-fashioned type of chair, but it has arms, a firm seat, and the beauty of it is you can press up from these arms and stand. These are furniture risers. You can get them at Bed Bath & Beyond, Amazon, and as long as your furniture has a foot, a leg like this that can go into this little divot, you can raise your chair 3 or 4 inches. And I will tell you, it makes a huge difference for people. So just think about how hard it is for you to get off your couch, off your chair, and that might be an option, just to raise it. Because when you go to try to get off, if you're struggling, that's where you could have a fall. Loss of dexterity is another problem that many of us have. It's not really fall related, but I just wanted to throw it in there. Think about if you do have arthritis, weakness in your hands, any kind of Parkinson's or tremor. This is a lever door, and it is the easiest, a lever door knob, the easiest knob to work, so you can easily change your doors. This is a little lever light. You can just press it with your elbow, with your finger, and boom, you can turn on the light. So the kitchen, so you want to have everything accessible. The beauty of the double stove, many of you who live in the North, the older homes, the stove is low and you go to take out that big turkey in a couple of weeks and it's hard to bend over to lift it up. The beauty of this is it's waist height and it's easier to take that turkey out and place it right on the counter. So think about, you know, if you're bending low to get things out of your oven. The other thing is here, this is a French door type of refrigerator. The reason for this is, the reason why they're popular is because we feel that most things we take out of the refrigerator versus the freezer. And so this way you have better access to the things that you need the most because they're at waist height. Using cabinets, I'll have people who, they have their favorite pot or pan and it's way in the back of the cabinet. And they're bending over and they have a fall just reaching for it. So this way, this was a good, nice use of a little tiny area, but you can pull it out and easily access cans because sometimes also the cabinets over the counter are so high that you're reaching up. I did have a woman, her fall was in the kitchen on the stool, reaching up to get cat food. So, you know, please don't climb on stools unless they're really safe, and there are safe ones. A one step up, wide base, rubber bottom stool with a handle, that will be okay. But other than that, you don't want to be climbing up. And this is another example of using the space and bringing making pull-out shelves where then they come to you, you are not reaching in to grab that pot. The bedroom. So again, you know, my concern with falling in the bedroom is a couple. You want the height of the bed to be okay. Sometimes as I said, the higher it is, the easier to get out of. But often, if it's too high, you can't lift your legs up on the bed. So a rule of thumb is 90, 90, 90. You want to sit on the edge of the bed and you want to have your hips be at 90 degrees, your ankles at 90 degrees, and your knees at 90 degrees. So your feet are flat on the floor. If you sit on the edge of the bed and you're dangling in the breeze, the bed is a little high for you. The other thing is be careful of your bed spread. So what happens is you see this little corner here, and when you're in the bed and you know you throw the bedspread off, it can gather right in here, and then you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and you trip on your bedspread. So be very wary of your bedspread, of where it is in the room. This bed rail is a great, you can order it again on Amazon or at a durable medical supply store locally. And it has a piece of wood here that fits between the box spring and the mattress, but it just gives you a little something to help to grab onto to get on and off of the bed. So they're great. This is a modification I did for someone. The husband, this was his side of the bed. He could get up, but he had trouble then rising from the bed. He was very unsteady. So we just put a rail right here along the wall and they loved it. He could sit up, reach for that rail, grab it and pull up and be safe. And he could walk his way all the way to the end and then go get to the bathroom. So the bathroom, where I spend most of my time doing most of my modifications, and OT's life, I always say, is in the bathroom. This is a great thing. It's a safety tub rail. It comes, again, my favorite words, no installation necessary. It squeezes onto the wall of the tub. Right there, you can see that. And that's a great modification. Gives you 2 heights of handles to step in and out. And the handheld shower head is just, again, something that if you're sitting and you can take this off, it comes off of the little knob here and you can hold it and you can wash yourself. Excuse me.
Linda,
This
if
is
I
a
could
shower.
could I just interject here?
Sure.
We're seeing a lot of great products, and I'm thinking as people are looking at these slides, they're thinking, gee, that would be helpful for me or a relative or a friend or a neighbor. Can people reach out to you via phone or email to get a list of distributors for these different
That's a great idea. We could do that after. They can always call me, or I can make a list. We can type it up and send it to people. So, you know, a lot of locally, there's durable medical equipment stores that they sell all of this equipment, and I love them. They're good to work with because, you know, they are local. One of them in particular delivers for free. But I will be honest with you all to say that nowadays Amazon, if you do have the ability, especially Amazon Prime, the things are definitely a lot cheaper. So I say to my clients, do you have you know, a son or a grandson who's on Amazon Prime? Because they might not be online and they might not be buying online, but the kids always are. So, but I will definitely write a list of this stuff and where to get it.
And we
sure.
can send it out in the follow-up email to people who have participated in the session.
Great idea.
That would be
So
great.
this is-
But can I just say one more thing about the equipment?
Sure.
I think it's really important that before you choose equipment, that you have a consultation with an OT or a PT to make sure you're getting the correct equipment for your problem. Because I don't think, in terms of risk of fall, I think the misuse or inappropriate use of adaptive equipment can be equally dangerous. Would you agree?
That definitely. So that is what I do for a living, is that I go into people's homes and assess them and then make recommendations such as this. So yes, the point of this is to show you all what's out there and what's available to get you thinking, so that if you're having some trouble getting in and out of the tub, for example, you might say, I would be a candidate for this. But then yes, if you can have someone come in to assess you, to tell you the right kind and how to use it. I joke that many of my clients, they have a walker or a cane, especially a walker. Oh, where'd you get the walker? Well, my uncle Alan died, and this was in their attic, and my cousin gave it to me. So many people walk around with this just assisted devices to walk with, and they were never assessed by anybody. Is it the right size? Is it the right height for you? So yes, you'll be meeting some OTs, more of them next week, and there is no question that getting an OT or a PT assessment is the way to go before choosing any of these things. So this is a tub bench, and the difference between these two chairs is, you can see this has two legs outside the tub and all four are inside the tub. And the difference is, if you can step over the side of the tub, then you don't need this one. You could just get this one. But if you have trouble and you're worried about stepping over the side of the tub, then this one is a transfer bench. So you sit out here and you slide your way in. So that's the beauty of that. And many falls happen with people trying to get inside into their tub. Falls happen getting on and off of the toilet. And so this is a raised toilet seat. Again, the problem is often, and especially in many of your old homes, the toilets are maybe even 15 inches high. Standard comfort height is 17 to 19. Look at your toilet and see what you think. It's a long journey down. And if you're having trouble, especially even getting on it, sitting yourself down on it, but getting back up, there are many different products out there that you could consider. I like it, of course, better with arms because it's easier to get up and down, but sometimes you might not have the room for that. This is a toilet frame. You might not need the height. Maybe you do have a good height toilet, but you find you're having trouble pushing up. So this is called a Versa frame, a toilet rail, and as you see, there's no height there, but it gives you the rails. Grab bars, grab bars, grab bars. So if I say nothing else, if nothing else sinks in, this is very important. Everyone should have grab bars in their shower, no matter what the situation. But what you would benefit from is someone to come in to show you exactly where they should go. So in the interest of time, which we're kind of running out of, I won't go through all the different ones, but please know that if you do not have a grab bar in your tub or shower, please consider that. Here's another quick, accessible bathroom, and why I show this is because this used to be a glass door, which is very hard to maneuver getting in and out of. So they took off the door and put up a curtain, and that was great. And then they have a grab bar here to reach to get in and out of. Combination grab bars, some people don't like the look of grab bars. They feel it's too institutional. This is a toilet paper holder that doubles as a grab bar, holds 500 pounds of weight. And this is a towel rack that is also an official grab bar. Don't use your towel rack to hold on to in the bathroom. It can pull out of the wall. Remember that. You need a real grab bar. And this was just a bar we put up opposite the toilet for leverage. So that's another example of needing a therapist to come in, look at your situation, and help you to see what your leverage and your strength is, and then show you where to place things in the proper place. The stairs, stairs can be a necessary evil, but we do need them. And you want to make sure the rise isn't too high. It should be between 6 and 7 inches in your house, and they should be even. I was in a house the other day, and weirdly the stairs were uneven, and that will set your gait off and could definitely cause a fall. Handrails, if they can be on both sides of your staircase, that's great. You want a light at the top, a light at the bottom, if possible. You know, if you want to be able to hold on to your banister good, and make sure it's in there stable. Give a grab and make sure it hasn't started to come loose a little bit. Extending the banister beyond the staircase is important. So what happens is you've got this banister and it ends at the top, before the top step or before the bottom step. And I find that often. So we'll go and we'll just extend it past the staircase, because that way you have something to hold on to when you get to the landing and you take that last step. So that's an important thing. And, you know, stair lifts really can make a huge difference. If you're living in a 2-story home, you want to stay in your home, you can consider something like this. It really can make the difference between people staying home and needing to go to a different home. So these are great. They do their job. They're very easy to maneuver. And they can be expensive, so it's not a light modification. There's no question about that. But if you love your house and you just feel that you're at the point where you can't do the stairs anymore, this can be great. The doorways, sometimes people have trouble getting in and out of their doorway. I'll go to someone's home and show them how to do what I call a side step in with their walker, because some of the old homes, the doorways are so thin that you can't even get your walker through. So there's a technique for that. If you can't get into the door and it's becoming difficult, this house, we took off the door. We put up a curtain rod and a curtain. They have their privacy. They can shut the curtain and they can get into their bathroom. This is called an offset hinge, and it buys you a couple of inches. So you switch your hinge to this and it makes the door open wider into the room. The garage, again, putting up grab bars when you get out of the car. They have a great steps here. They have grab rails here to help the person to get into the kitchen. So preventing falls, the major causes, as we've talked about over the past couple sessions, environmental hazards, which we just went over, weak muscles, poor balance, dizziness, side effects from your meds. And these are some predictors. So how hard is it for you to rise from a chair? That will show you that you might maybe benefit from a strengthening exercise program. How is your balance? Have you fallen in the past year? A fall is an indicator that another one might happen. So you're all doing the right thing by coming here and learning about how to prevent that fall. And of course, medications. So what we can do, talk to your doctor to evaluate your meds. Tai Chi is a greatest class you can take for improving your balance. Consider therapy to improve balance, get moving. As we said, and Judy pointed out, assess your need for a walking aid and assess your need for any of the equipment that we just talked about, and adapt your environment as needed. So, okay, I spoke very quickly, and now I'm going to turn it back over to Judy.
Oh, thank you so much, Linda. That was just, it's amazing what's available to people if they just take the time to look. And I hope that based on what Linda showed us and what she talked about, that it's kind of a natural lead in to this next step, which is creating a personal action plan for fall prevention. As I've heard it said, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So based on what you've seen today, based on what we've talked about, begin to think about something that you would like to do within your home or within your personal internal environment that might help you decrease your risk of falls. And you have this on your handout. This is take-home activity number 2. So the first thing is to choose something that you want to do, not something that your neighbor is saying you should do or your grandchildren are saying you should do, but something that you choose to do to create this positive change. Make sure it's action specific. So in other words, if I say to you, I need to organize my living room so I can get moving around more freely, that's not really specific enough. What I'm thinking of in terms of specificity is I need to remove the throw rugs or I need to move this piece of furniture. Very, very specific. So you can measure it. And then you're going to it's going to answer the questions. What are you going to do? When are you going to do it? Not someday I'm going to call so-and-so to help me move this piece of furniture next Wednesday or whatever day you choose. And then last but not least, you're going to ask yourself, how confident are you that you'll be successful in following through on your action plan? Now, obviously you want to hit for somewhere above 7, because if you have 0 confidence, you're probably not going to do it. And if you have a level 10 confidence, chances are good that you've already done it in your home. So you want to look for that, you know, that sweet spot, which is maybe 7 to 9, that you're confident that'll be achievable. So that's your homework for today. I see there's something in the chat box. I just want to see if there's a question.
Judy, the question is, what suggestions do you have for getting out of a car?
Okay.
Can I answer that?
Absolutely, Linda.
Well, first of all, again, that's something, there's a technique to it that would be great to be able to show you. I did a video, I did a TV quick spot for Spectrum TV. I wonder if they still have that on tape. I would love to try to find that. But there are also some gadgets that you can get. One is called the Handy Bar. Handybar, Handy Bar. And what that is it's a little gadget. When you open your door in either the passenger or the driver's side, there's a word for it, which of course I don't know, but it's a metal ring that's in the door, and it's in everybody's door. When you attach this Handy Bar to it, and it actually makes like a little grab bar in the car, and it's great for pushing up from the seat and from letting yourself down. There's also an item that goes over the window. You kind of pop it over the window and close the window all the way to hold it on, and it makes like a little sort of a little rope to hold on to help pull yourself in and out. So there are some gadgets for the car, and depending on what your problem is, there's also, it's like a lazy Susan. It sits on the seat of the car, and you back up to the car. Let's say this is the passenger. You back up and you sit down so your feet are on the driveway and your tush is on this lazy Susan, and then it helps to spin you in if you have trouble lifting your legs into the car. So there are a lot of things that you can do, and again, it would be great to have someone work with you. It would take one session to show you how to use those.
May I jump in, Linda and Judy?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
First of all, I always feel for Susan. I don't think she intends to be lazy. It's just that she's efficient. But I have that device, and I have the Handy Bar at college, and I'll add that to our presentation for next week. It's just
That'd be great. Perfect.
And I think the group has maybe discussed CarFit before, but that is a group I'm involved with that helps with that, and that's one of the things that we show. But definitely rising from the seat once you're in there is challenging, so we'll add that to our presentation for next week.
Great. That's why I'm glad you're here, Scott. You get to hear the
Sure.
chatter and what people are interested in
And
hearing.
also, I noted when I saw the whole group, two of my colleagues are also here being very quiet, but Megan Donito is one of our occupational therapy assistant professors, and she's helped with the low vision. And David Pallister is a new member of our faculty. He is with the Occupational Therapy Master's Program, and they are both looking forward to working with NORC in the future. So just wanted to acknowledge my other colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you.
And CARFIT is a program we've done every fall, Scott, through the NORC. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it this fall, but
No.
we've done it in conjunction with Colony Senior Services Driving Center. So
Good.
hopefully next spring or fall, if things are back to normal, we can get back and up and running for that.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll see you there. I do a few local ones.
Yep.
So I think that I'm looking at the clock. It's 10:59. Can you believe how timely we are? That is just amazing.
We're on a tight ship, Judy.
I know. So I'd like to invite all of you to complete the poll at the bottom. I'm going to launch it now. You should all be able to see this. There are 3 questions. So you'll have to scroll down. So very simple, very quick. And we'd like to hear from all of you. So I hope you can all see the poll.
What are the questions, Judy?
Okay, so the first question is, prior to beginning this session, how would you rate your concern about experiencing a fall? Not concerned at all, somewhat concerned, concerned, or very concerned? The second question is, the information presented in this session was very helpful or useful, somewhat helpful, useful, not helpful, useful. And the third question is, how likely are you to practice the fall
Yeah.
prevention
Now put it
exercises
over.